during this time of change.
So Joseph, you've alluded to a crisis in our educational system and really coming to this election process with a sense of urgency. I want to ask you about the dropout rate of Hispanic students. The 4-year dropout rate of Latino students in Santa Clara County is 37%, higher than the state average. What should the County Office of Ed do about it? And what can the board, through its specific powers, do to bridge the achievement gap?
It's a huge issue, the achievement gap, the dropout rate. I think it's low at 37%. I don't think that's as accurate as it is. But when we talk about, let's use 40%, if you will. 40% of Latino students dropping out of Eastside Union High School District, dropping out of San Jose Unified School District, dropping out of Gilroy Unified School District. We've got a crisis on our hands that the crisis needs louder voices and deeper voices. And I think I would be that voice on the county board. What can the county office do? It starts with early childhood education. They run all the Head Start programs, but it's not fully funded by the federal government. So the advocacy for making sure that we as a county, Santa Clara County, the entire county, the 1.8 million people, put our collective wealth together, heads together, and collaborate to make sure every child has an opportunity to have preschool education, whether it be Head Start or other quality preschool, is a beginning to the problem. And the county does run some of those programs. We just need to expand it and include all children that are eligible that do not have preschool education. The county also runs all the alternative programs for the county with incarcerated youth and non-incarcerated high-risk youth. And I think we could do a much better job taking the best models, like the Foundry that existed at one time in this county, which was the best model. In fact, the Mercury News and Parade magazine many years ago wrote and highlighted the Foundry as the model in the nation for alternative youth. And I think we had an opportunity to expand that model to various places and regions of this county so that we can increase the graduation rate of those high-risk youth. We also, in the county, have South County Regional Occupational Programs, North County Regional Occupational Programs. We know, according to the literature, that career technical education, vocational education, keeps students connected and interested in schools. We need to expand those opportunities again, maybe collaborating, attracting more resources, financial resources, to make those programs be the quality of program that children need. So those are some things. There's many others, and I'd probably use more of my time.
No, terrific, thank you. Carol, or do you want to go to Gary?
Gary. Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's okay.
I can wait.
Yeah, no, it's an enormous problem, and I think we've been lax here in Santa Clara County. Oftentimes, when school results are reported, we're above average, right, versus the state averages. And but hidden underneath that, obviously, is this enormous achievement gap. And what we learned most recently from the new data that just came out from the state is that we're actually below the average for the state on Latino dropout rate. In other words, it's at a higher rate than the rest of the state. And that's really unfortunate. This is a multifaceted problem because it does start from birth all the way through to graduation. For us to focus on one effort, alternative schools versus preschool and so forth, we have to address it at many different levels. The importance of education in all of our communities, the goal to be a full citizen working in our community, self-supporting, self-sufficient, is an important goal, and many people don't realize how important a high school graduation can be to that. It's going to take all hands. The County Office of Education by itself and the County Board can't do it all. We do have the opportunity with some special programs like alternative programs to help, but that's usually when the risk of dropout has already become clear. But there are choices much earlier on in a student's career that we need to give. We've had an opportunity through creating some charter schools to give choices earlier on. I'm very proud of the work that Rocket Ship Charter School has done in downtown in the Washington neighborhood. and seems to have had an enormous impact just in the last year with some students who may have, some of them may have ended up being at risk later on. So there are many ways to create choices. It involves local districts, it involves the County Office of Education. Most important is that the entire school community, all the superintendents come together. The board can play a role in helping to convene and be a strong advocate for that. So the county board really, one of the primary roles is to be a strong advocate and to bring attention to these kind of issues.
Thank you. Carol?
Yes. As we all know, the Hispanic dropout rate is just, it's unacceptable. It's been with us for a long time, and it's only recently the state is now coming up with a system where they can assign a number to students, all students, to find out if they move, where they go, because now from kindergarten on through 12th grade, we don't know when the students truly drop out or what they're doing. So I think when we talk about, the early childhood education programs, I think those are important, but I also think we need to realize we're in a period of severe economic stress, that the chances of implementing or doing any fully funding programs, I think, is going to be extremely limited. And I do think we want to start at early childhood, but I think we also have to recognize we have to deal with the existing resources, and I believe there will probably be mid-year cuts in a lot of our programs. So we sort of need to kind of regroup and say, can we maintain the existing programs? And obviously the county, they provide programs for the most vulnerable at-risk youth, and those are the ones that have already dropped through safety nets, and that's why there are a number of, they're incarcerated in juvenile hall, they go to the ranch and back and forth. So I do think we need to have some more counseling, mentoring programs. We need to find out what's already in place at the county level. And we need, as Gary said, we need to work very, very strongly with the existing school districts, because they're the ones that the students come up, from elementary. Middle school seems to be the crisis area where students start declaring whether they're going to get involved with gangs or whether they're going to start having, problems with grades, etc. So there seems to be a big push to try to get the middle schools to have more funding or, more awareness, and I know they're working very hard on that. And then once they get into high school, with the rigorous graduation requirements that a lot of the districts are imposing, if students are not doing well, I think this has a tendency to cause them to drop out earlier than they might have. We also need to be able to get them into more vocational career programs. And if you're doing the A to G, it's very difficult to be able to go over to the CCOC and take classes if you're not maintaining the C average, because you then have to stay at your home school and take additional courses. So I think, as we all recognize, this dropout rate is absolutely unacceptable, and it's been with us for a long time. In the past, I think we've kind of masked it over by saying it was lower than it really is, and now we're getting a variety of independent studies saying, no, it's much higher. I think we all kind of knew it was higher. We just hoped it wasn't higher, and we can no longer sit there and have wishful thinking. We just need to redirect the limited resources that's going to be made available to us and get them to the most vulnerable youth.
Thank you.
There's a perception of those who don't follow the county office that somehow